Mike Papantonio on the line with us, the attorney and host of Ring of Fire Radio and Ring of Fire TV, now on Free Speech TV. And you can find out all the information on that at ringoffireradio.com. Do I have that right, Pap?
You do.
Okay. Mike Papantonio, welcome. So glad to have you with us here. A couple things I want to talk with you about. I wanted to get into this whole, guns in this town in Georgia. We went through this when I lived in Atlanta, and Kennesaw did something similar. But first, Eric Holder has made some news after Rand Paul's 13-hour grandstand stunt yesterday. Although I praise his position, that the president should not be able to play judge or jury. That, in fact, in a capital case, Fifth Amendment says it has to be a jury. It can't even be a judge. But finally, we got this letter today. Literally, dear Senator Paul, it has come to my attention that you have now asked an additional question, quote, does the president have the authority to use a weaponized drone to kill an American not engaged in combat on American soil, end quote, with a question mark. The answer, Eric Holder writes, to that question is no. Pap, I'm curious your take on the evolution of this, the original letter, the original response, and how the Republicans ended up with a high ground on this.
Well, the point is, Holder said what he had in his mind is truth the first time. I mean, this is the arena that they've operated under, Tom. This is a Department of Justice that there's no surprise coming from Eric Holder. Listen, if you look at who's advising this president right now, for them to suggest that it's completely appropriate to kill an American on American soil with a drone, that really is not a shocker. It's not a surprise. It would have been astounding to me just 4 years ago, but it's not anymore. So I think somebody said, Eric, I can't believe you said that. Either you weren't thinking or you weren't protecting what you were thinking. And so this follow-up letter is simply a way to have some wiggle room on that issue. But
yeah. And Rand Paul is now claiming victory as, although there were a couple of Democrats, Ron Wyden was the first among them to step up and say, yeah, we're concerned about drones being used domestically too. But in his original letter, Holder said, yeah, I can imagine a couple of scenarios where it might be possible. One was Pearl Harbor and the other was 9/11. And, I've heard that there was a conversation where Dick Cheney was talking about shooting down the plane that went down in Pennsylvania. And I don't know if that's part of the 9/11 lore or if that's part of actual news.
Tom, the big problem here is that there are no guidelines, and Holder knows there are no guidelines. And even for this president to be saying, rush these guidelines, give us some guidelines on where drones can be used, give us some do's and don'ts. He's been saying that, but he realizes there's not going to be any meaningful activity on that anytime soon. And so it's lip service. We're not going to have a roadmap that really means anything for years. And the statistics just as well as I do. Within the private industry, we're going to have private drones flying all over America, 30,000 of them, within the next 10 years. And so it's time. It's simply time. Yeah, and
let me add to that, Pap, I believe that with regard to drones, we are right now where we were with IBM mainframes. Back when I was going to college in the late 60s, where, I had to organize a stack of cards a foot and a half high to program a little if and or loop, in BASIC. Or no, it wasn't even BASIC, it was Fortran, as I recall. And the card reader, the computer occupied a room.
Exactly.
And now I've got more computing power than the entire MSU computing department had. In 1968, I got more power than that in my iPhone.
In other words, once you put it in the air and it's flying, then all of a sudden technology just makes these giant leaps.
Yeah, and pretty soon you got a drone that's the size of a dragonfly.
Well, they're not far from that already. The other part of it is, if you recall during that era that you're talking about, technology was ahead of the law. Technology was ahead of the game, the rules of the game, and that's what we have here. Technology is way, way ahead. Only with IBM, you probably weren't going to kill anybody. There wasn't going to be human death because of it. Here you're going to have human death where we don't have any rules or regulations at all.
Although you could argue that, IBM providing the Nazi government with the computer system to keep track of who was sent to which death camps, that really should have been regulated.
Ugly story.
Yeah, it was a very ugly story. Pap, gun laws. We have states are getting very strict on guns, fewer gun-related deaths. This is from the Daily Beast, a study that they're publishing on. But at the same time, we've got this wackadoodle legislator or city in Georgia that's saying, guns for everybody.
Yeah, well, I got to tell you, Tom, last night I was at a town hall meeting for Sinclair Broadcasting, asked me to be the constitutional lawyer on the left on this issue. And I said, this issue really isn't about the Constitution. This issue is about the story, for example, that you were about to tell about Georgia legislator that said it's going to be mandatory that people in this town carry a gun. And here's the way I see this. The NRA and the good guys with guns are losing their brand. And that's an issue that's far more important than anything constitutional. Constitutional issues are transient. You're going to have Rehnquist one day court, a Warren court, and then you're going to have a Scalia Roberts kind of court. It's going to change all the time. But anytime you have a backlash where you have them losing their high ground brand, they've got a problem. There's several things that are happening right now, Tom. The NRA is losing natural, just the evolution of things, because it's losing its logical base. You have a natural base of hunters and sportsmen that are being replaced by this more militant fringe. You have an age demographic that's rapidly changing, an age between 18 and 35, and you see gun issues that are looked at much different. They don't buy the idea that government is here to take anybody's guns and we have to arm ourselves against the government. That is an older generation kind of thought. The demographics on urban population are shifting, Tom. You've got rural America that used to, that's where we used to do hunting. That's where you would find more guns. Now in places like Chicago and LA, they have a different attitude. Plenty of guns there, but it's a different attitude of who has the high ground. And I think there's more recognition of how overreaching and arrogant the industry's become. Hogs get fat, pigs get slaughtered, and that's what's getting ready to happen to the gun industry. They've seen greed and overreaching surround this industry. They've seen total immunity for sales, as we've talked about. They've seen blocked research efforts to try to research what's the connection between guns and violence. They've seen the ATF being blocked by having a crime registry with guns that are used in crime. They've had initiated expansion on carry rights in schools and parks, virtually everywhere. So the public is reacting to that. And, I've seen it before, Tom. I've been involved with it before. I was involved in tobacco, where tobacco thought that they were bulletproof. They overreached. They became arrogant. And we used to tell them again and again as discovery was taking place, you know what? Hogs get fat, pigs get slaughtered. We saw the same thing with the automobile industry, where they said we don't need seat belts. They resisted it for 20 years. Same thing with airbags. Same thing with children's car restraints. So we've seen when an industry overreaches and loses sight that it doesn't make any difference what happens in the courts when you have a public outrage that reaches the level that we're looking at now, where 90% of the American public that don't have any relationship with the gun industry, they don't understand why a person needs an AK-47 to defend themselves, or why they need armor-piercing bullets that kill police officers while they're driving around in their police cars, why we need those things. They think if they can defend themselves, they can probably do it with a 9mm Glock. If they want to hunt birds, they can probably do that with a Winchester 12 gauge. So that's the way it's fallen. It's not good for the NRA right now.
Yeah, and which is a good thing for America.
Yes.
Mike Papantonio, attorney and host of Ring of Fire Radio and Ring of Fire TV, now on Free Speech TV. You can read all about both of them over at ringoffireradio.com. Pap, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you, Tom.
Good, always good talk.